Hello, this is Master What Ifer. Now I know this is a what if most people don't really think about, as JoJo XMHA what ifs are very uncommon. But today we'll be talking about what if Deku had White Snake. Now I know the most common stand people give Deku in what ifs like this are stands like the World, Star Platinum and sometimes Crazy Diamond. I have seen what ifs where Deku gets the stand Golden experience, but I wanted to be unique. No, Deku will not be getting made in heaven unless that is requested by you guys in the comments, and unlike most what ifers, this isn't a fan fiction I found online but something I'm gonna make. Now I'm not gonna make massive changes to Deku unlike most what ifers where he randomly wakes up with a 12-inch defeater or some weird shit. No, nothing changes. Instead of it being a quirk, it will be given to him via stand arrow, as if he has a quirk that means it'd likely be visible and a normal stand is invisible to anyone without a stand. As of now I will not be adding other stand users to this what if, but again if you guys in the comments want that, then I can add it, but right now, there will be no stand users besides Deku. With all that out of the way, I'm going to begin this what if. We start with Izuku Midoriya. Right, the same plot. He still has the love for All Might, and his father, Tsushi Midoriya, is still working overseas to help provide for his family like in the anime. Note this will not go into season 6 as that is not yet released, but back to what I was saying, the same all continues, with Bakugo getting his quirk and Midoriya giving him the trademark name of Kaken, also known as explosions in Japanese. He is still called Deku by Bakugo, as again, Midoriya does not have a quirk. Deku was bullied by Bakugo and his lackeys up until he turned 7. Why? Simply because let's say Izuku and his mom Inko Midoriya are out on a picnic near their home. Izuku spots a bug near a tree he was sitting next to, and since he's a curious 7-year-old, he obviously chases it, and his mom Inko yells Izuku away. She chases after him but somehow he seems to have vanished. It turns out Izuku had just been hiding in the bushes crawling after the bug, which is why he was gone. His mom had began looking for him in the bushes, yelling out his name trying to find him. Izuku wanders out of the bushes into a forest-style area with very see-through leaves, as it was beginning to be summer but not directly into the middle of summer where it'd be really hot. He gets lost for 5 minutes and decides to leave the area he was in and go back to where he thought he came from. He steps on a piece of string and suddenly he hears almost like something flying at him. It hits him right in the neck and it turns out to be an arrow. This was due to the fact that a villain had been setting a home near Izuku's house, as it was relatively populated, and he was planning to kill a few people in the apartment complex that Izuku and his mom lived in. The villain wasn't in his hut at the moment, as he was in his actual home, likely doing something which would explain why there was a booby trap. Izuku falls to the ground and starts spurting massive amounts of blood. A minute passes and his mom finds his body. She starts to break out into tears and reaches for her phone to call an ambulance. 5 minutes after and the police arrive and they take them to the hospital. The thing is, the arrow was incredibly massive compared to small Deku. Therefore a lot of blood was lost, and since they were out for 6 minutes just bleeding out, he is dead. His heart stops and his mom begins to cry and sob loudly, but since he has a stand his willpower pushes itself to survive, almost similar to what Shotaro did. His heart begins to rebeat and the doctors immediately try to save him. After 30 minutes his heartbeat goes back to normal, but he is still unconscious. He misses weeks of school attempting to recover from the injury. Once he does arrive he is still mocked and bullied like normal, except for one moment, where he gets an even worse beating for trying to take back his notebook that Bakugo had taken from him. This time instead of just sitting there Deku tried to reach for his book, which had pissed off the flaming Pomeranian. Around half an hour of constant attacks from Bakugo and his lackeys. Kaken, stop. Please. Bakugo says, "You worthless Deku, you thought you were better than me." After Bakugo says this he kicks Deku in the gut and prepares to blast him in the face again. He cocks his fist back and attempts to launch a blast. Once the blast quote-unquote hits Deku, the dust clears up and Deku's face is untouched by the blast. Bakugo is somewhat confused and attempts to launch several more blasts and punches at Deku. The blasts do nothing and his fists are caught by an invisible force. Deku lays there scared with his eyes wide open, not of Bakugo no, but of the black and white figure with the crown in front of him. Bakugo's lackeys get scared and start yelling, "You're on your own, man." They all run away as Bakugo yells, "Cowards." What had happened is that in response to someone attacking the stand user, White Snake had summoned itself to protect Deku. We know that White Snake in the anime is somewhat comparable to Stone Free, and Stone Free is comparable to Star Platinum, NA in strength rating, so we will weaken White Snake to a B in strength in this what if, and with training Deku will gain the full power of White Snake. Deku was too scared to actually try and punch Kaken, so all he does is sit there as White Snake defends Deku from any blasts that Bakugo launches at him. Bakugo starts to get tired as his 7-year-old body cannot handle the amount of blasts he is releasing at Deku. He eventually gives up and White Snake lets go of him as Deku does not want to harm Bakugo, and White Snake follows the orders of Deku. Running away, Bakugo yells, "I'll get you next time, Deku, you damn nerd." After 10 minutes it starts to rain, and since Deku was so injured by the beating Bakugo was giving him before, all he did was sit there in the rain. He quickly picked himself up and thought, "I have to be home, my mom already thinks I'm getting beat up by Kaken and I don't want her to think it's true." Deku tried his best to run home, and when he had arrived it was a late time, around his bedtime, and he was grounded. The next morning everyone at school had looked at him weird as Bakugo had told everyone what had happened. Bakugo after the incident would still try to bully Deku, but most of the time it would end up with White Snake defending Deku until one very particular time. Bakugo had called most of the school to help him beat up Deku. The teachers like usual didn't care what Bakugo was doing to Deku and ignored what was happening. Since there were so many kids, Deku, now 11 years old, tried to retaliate. When he did, White Snake bashed Bakugo's head. Instead of him getting flung back, he stood there, until his eyes turned white with weird text. Something began appearing from Bakugo's head as every kid yelled, "AHHH," including Deku. The disc fell out and it said, "Explosions." For those who don't know, White Snake has the ability to take away memories and stands. Though he can't give himself the power, I will do the same with Deku but replace stands with quirks. The white and the text disappeared from Bakugo's eyes and he ran at Deku again. He put his palm out and nothing happened. Bakugo was shocked. "What happened to my quirk? Why can't I detonate any explosions? Deku, you damn thief, what happened to my quirk?" All the kids began screaming and backing away from Deku as they all understood what had happened. Bakugo grabbed Deku's collar and Deku was frantically trying to give Bakugo back his quirk, though he didn't know how. Bakugo shoved Deku to the ground and took the disc. He knew that it had came from his head, so he attempted to put it back into where it had exited from. The same process happened with the disc entering Bakugo's head. The explosions finally returned to him and he began running away yelling, "Thief, he's a villain." Now we time skip to the beginning of the anime as Deku would be too scared to train White Snake considering the things that he had done to Bakugo. Instead of where he is bullied, he wouldn't be respected but rather feared. Instead of people avoiding him because he was quirkless, they'd avoid him because of the fear of losing their quirk. It would be the end of the year and Deku and his classmates would be sitting in his class. The teacher would come in and say, "Since it's the end of middle school, you will have to think carefully about your career choices. I'm going to pass out some career papers." Everyone would be disappointed until the teacher would yell, "But I know you all want to be heroes, so why would I pass them out?" Everyone began wing and showing off their quirks. The teacher would notice this and tell them all to settle down. Bakugo would jump onto his table like in the anime and yell, "Don't lump me in with all these losers, teach. I'm the only one who stands a chance at becoming a hero." These extras would be lucky to end up as a sidekick to some busted D-lister. Out of anger, everyone in the class except Midoriya would get mad at Bakugo and use their quirks as a show of power. The teacher would tell them to stop using their quirks and would say, "Bakugo, it says here you wanna go to UA." Bakugo would then yell, "Come on, I'll take you all on. I aced the mock test, and I'm the only one with the grades good enough to make it to UA. I'm gonna become a better hero than All Might and become the richest hero of all time." The teacher would also mention, "Izuku Midoriya, You also wanna go to UA. Instead of Bakugo blasting his table, instead he would scoff, but not quiet scoff, to where Midoriya could hear but wouldn't do anything due to the fact that everyone was scared of Midoriya. Things go as in canon and Deku leaves school, but instead this time his book isn't scorched. Deku still manages to catch the Kami Woods fight against the villain where Mount Lady jumps in, stealing the quote-unquote kill. Midoriya still takes notes like in the original and still goes through a shortcut as his mom was making his favorite food katsudon for dinner. The sludge villain shows up and attacks Midoriya, saying, "I didn't know that freak was in town. Let me borrow your body, kid, or else." Midoriya is unable to escape and the sludge villain captures him. He is suffocating, but unlike in the original where All Might saves him, White Snake appears and attacks the sludge villain. As he is made of sludge that obviously does not harm him, so White Snake does the only reasonable option. He steals his quirk. Slowly the sludge begins to disappear from Deku's throat and he starts a coughing fit where he nearly pukes from the taste. A man is revealed once the sludge quirk is stolen. Midoriya is stuck in shock as the man dashes at Midoriya. "You could give me my quirk or I'll kill you." He attempts to tackle Midoriya but he nearly breaks his skull. White Snake had appeared in front of Midoriya and became tangible, due to how durable and strong White Snake is and the fact the man is untrained and is not used to being in human form. He is knocked out and concussed by the quote-unquote attack. All Might emerges from the sewers. "Don't fear, for I am here," he says confusedly, as he sees a knocked-out man and a frightened green bean. He asks, "Young man, what happened here? There was a slime villain I was chasing. Have you seen him anywhere?" Midoriya, already shocked from what had happened to him, starts panicking with excitement. "Oh my god, it's All Might, can you please give me an autograph?" All Might responding with, "Sure kid, but can you explain what happened?" Deku takes a deep breath and after All Might signs his notebook, "There was this sludge guy that attacked me. I couldn't do anything, but I guess I activated my quirk. It's that thing, that weird tall man that always follows me." Deku points at thin air. All Might is left confused, "But there's nothing there, kid." Deku is confused as he tapes White Snake. "Do you not see him? I'm touching him right now. He's right here, a tall man with black and white stripes. He has a crown? I don't see anyone, kid, are you okay?" Deku, kind of agitated that All Might thinks he's insane, says, "Fine, whatever, just here." Deku hands him a disc that says, "Sludge." All Might is confused and asks, "What is this?" Deku answers his question, "It's a disc. My quirk apparently can steal quirks. I learned this when I accidentally took my friend Kaken's quirk and gave it back. I don't know why it is that." All Might is left shocked. The first thought that comes to mind is of course All for One as a quirk that can take and give is incredibly powerful. He says, "With a quirk like that you'd make an excellent hero if you used it properly, since you said you had a person that helped you fight, right?" Deku nodded his head. "Well, I'll have to take this criminal. Do you think you could give me that disc? Oh, and by the way, what's your name, young man?" Deku hands over the disc and with a smile says, Izuku Midoriya." All Might with his signature smile says, "I hope to see you at UA, kid." Now the slime villain doesn't magically drop out of All Might's hands, get his quirk back and attack Bakugo, as Deku will not be getting one for all. All Might will keep Izuku Midoriya's name in mind as he's scared he will start working with All for One, but he won't just send him to jail or some dumb shit. He will obviously spy on Deku to make sure he trains to become a hero, and after this Deku has 10 months to train his quirk to get into UA, but that's where we'll be leaving this off. Subscribe and comment. Please answer if Deku should get made in heaven, if there should be other stand users, and if Deku should get knives as a support item.